Why do new games die off so quickly while old franchises like Call of Duty have a dedicated player base no matter how good the new games are? If we look at the Steam charts top 10, it is filled with old games while having only a couple new ones. You notice a game that took the world by storm in December, The Finals, has fallen off completely because it lost over 90% of its player base in only a few months. It's just another Splitgate, and they aren't losing their player base because they're bad necessarily, they're losing the players because you just fall back into your typical routines, come home and play GTA 5, Counter-Strike Go, Fortnite, Call of Duty, or whatever game you've been playing for years with your friends. Change is difficult, which is why it's harder for new games to gain and retain players because it takes work for people to convince their friends to play a new game, and it takes work to learn new mechanics and controls. This is why Call of Duty hasn't died even with its downward trajectory in quality. Even with everything working in Call of Duty's favor, they have managed to make the game become less popular almost every single year by lowering the player retention and having people play the game less and less. This has happened from Activision catering the game to people who only play Call of Duty 8 hours a year instead of people who play the game 30 hours a year. It's an interesting strategy. In spite of this, COD sells. We have seen its sales figures fall off a little bit with Modern Warfare 3 because it was labeled as a $70 DLC. This happened because MW2 was supposed to be the first 2-year lifespan Call of Duty title, but had terrible player retention like Vanguard the year before. This led Activision to scramble to get together a new Call of Duty to maintain the yearly schedule of COD to try and regain some of the player base. Every single map at launch was a remastered Modern Warfare 2 map in a game called Modern Warfare 3. You can see why the community thought this was a DLC. And Modern Warfare 3 is just what Modern Warfare 2 was supposed to be at launch. So even though MW3 multiplayer is better in every aspect to MW2, people steered clear of it because they felt wrong, and you can't blame them. And even with all this discourse for MW3, it was the second best-selling game of 2023, only behind Hogwarts Legacy. But the truly shocking stat is Modern Warfare 2 was the 7th best-selling game of 2023, which doesn't even include its launch day sales. What can help explain this is that Call of Duty feels comforting, like an old friend, and people love comfort. That is why COD is always one of the best-selling titles every year. But just because it's still kicking doesn't mean it can't die. Activision and Microsoft need to make changes if they want Call of Duty to reach its highest potential, which would benefit them by making bigger profits. Now, how do they do this? It's no secret that every year Call of Duty launches, they go fairly poorly, with either a lack of content, a bunch of bugs and glitches, or both. To put it simply, the games aren't ready, and that's because Activision rushes the developers to get out the games and puts them in a time crunch. They are the exact opposite of Rockstar Games, who are willing to wait a decade to release a game if it means they can launch with the best possible product. But maybe Activision wants the community to rage because that will create the games to be talked about more on social media. Anger is a powerful emotion, which is why social media promotes hate. Anger and hate create irrationality that promotes engagement. For example, if I release 2 videos on the same topic with one applauding it and the other slandering it, the negative one will always do better. People are haters, and that's okay. All publicity is good publicity is Activision's motto. I'm doing a face reveal at 100k, so if you want to see me, hit that button. But clearly, being a great game is still better because the one company that outsells COD every single year they have a new release is Rockstar Games. And I'm not saying Call of Duty has to go that far and wait a decade, but they should start to shift their identity from quantity to quality. By releasing games every other year, giving the developers the extra time needed to ensure they have the time to fully perfect their vision. Because even with this, Call of Duty would still receive hate because things that are popular tend to be hated more than niche games, partially due to reaching a wider audience with broader tastes. Even within the fans of Call of Duty, we have far different tastes. Just look at the advanced movement Call of Duties. Half the community like jetpacks and the other half hates them. Personally, I would love another game like Black Ops 3 to come out, but many wouldn't. And that's why I said the developers need extra time for their vision, because it's impossible to fully listen to the community's desires because we all contradict each other. And a game made by Treyarch to their wants will be better than a game made by Infinity Ward to what Activision wants, because the developers will be more passionate about making a game that they want instead of a game that someone else wants. We have a perfect example with Sledgehammer, who is viewed by some as the worst Call of Duty developer because they made Advanced Warfare, COD World War II, Vanguard, and Modern Warfare 3. The only game they made where they had creative freedom to choose what they wanted to do was Advanced Warfare, which is why it has a dedicated fan base even if it isn't the most popular Call of Duty. I could tell, and I'm sure you could tell, that they put passion into making Advanced Warfare, but then they were forced to make a World War II game when they wanted to make Advanced Warfare 2, which is why at launch COD World War II multiplayer was bad. They had passion for the zombies mode and made a very good first map, and COD World War II eventually became a very fun Call of Duty. But we already know Sledgehammer was forced to make Vanguard in less than a year and Modern Warfare 3 in 16 months. And with that game, they were forced to get everything passed by Infinity Ward. I truly believe Sledgehammer wants to make a great Call of Duty and make the fans happy, but their passion has been taken away from them by being controlled and told what to do. One thing that would benefit developers greatly and the fans greatly would be going to an every other year release schedule where each studio would have 6 years in between games, which would give them ample time to create, test, and try out new things to make the game that perfectly fits their vision. Regardless of if it is exactly what we want, the games will be infinitely better, which will make them sell more copies and sell more microtransactions in the game. Could you imagine the amount of content we would get if the developers had time and space instead of Activision breathing down their necks? In spite of Call of Duty's downward spiral, the optimist in me can still see a glimmer of hope because just like you, I love the Call of Duty franchise even with all of its shortcomings. I truly believe that Black Ops Gulf War in 2024 will be a turning point in the Call of Duty franchise, and that Treyarch will start to get us back on the right path. But if you want to take a trip down memory lane with me as I play every Call of Duty multiplayer in 2024 where I rate them out of 10, click on this video here. Peace.